Okay, hi everybody. This is the day after Halloween. Hope y'all had a good Halloween. Stephanie and I dressed up. I was a pirate, she was a witch. Let's get something hanging there. Also, I've been painting the bus on the top, you can tell. Practicing before I get to the sides. Anyway, this video is for G-Man and Kim. And I'm going to be talking about what they call backdrop people and what I've started calling NPC people. And for the gamers out there, NPC, you will recognize that term. It's non-NPC, non-player character, and it's really characters that are created by the game to fill in the blanks of characters that you can play with. So, let's say that you're playing a video game by yourself and no one else. Well, the computer will, or the game will generate other characters in the game so that you can interact with them and create the scenarios in the game that you want to play. It's the reason why I call the people out here NPC people. Now, depending on what you are creating as a creator god, there may or may not be other creator gods that want to play the exact game that you are playing in the moment. Okay? But as a creator god, you get to have whatever you want. So let's say that you're creating a time and a place vibrationally where there's not a lot of other human being creator gods that are interested in playing what you're playing. So what the law of attraction will do is it will call on entities and let them know that you're playing this game and that you need fill-in characters for this game. And other entities, other god entities, will agree that they will put a little bit of their energy in, not too much, but just a little bit of their energy in to fill in the blanks and let you have people that you are surrounded by so that it still looks like you're on a planet with 7 billion other people, but perhaps there's a great percentage of that 7 billion people who aren't into your vibration, who have just put a little bit of energy just to make it look like that you are surrounded by a bunch of human beings. Okay? When this happens, you might be interacting with somebody who's checking you out at the gas station, who really, the entity that is running that human being's body, may not have a lot of energy into it. But the law of attraction and the way that this is all set up it's very complex, guys. It's very complicated. But since we are all one, it's totally doable. And although I would imagine that by explaining this, you're going, how in the world could all of this be, something could keep track of all of this? Well, it's really not as hard as it sounds whenever you're aware of what everybody else is doing, okay? And you're dealing with gods here. But the point here is that if you feel like you're interacting with someone and they're not really there, that it seems like you're surrounded in the moment with people that aren't just completely there, the chances are that that could be exactly the truth. That the entities that are around you have got just enough energy to make it appear that you are surrounded in the world. Now, when do these things happen? Well, what difference does it make, really? Your game will be set up and you will get to play exactly what you want to play. You have the right to that as a god. But you don't have the right as a god to force other people to play your game at your particular time and space. You can't force anybody to do anything. So, in this particular, from the particular um, experience that we are having right now, if you are in a certain area, or if you live in a place where you're vibrating very different than what those around you are vibrating at, there's a higher chance that you'll be surrounded by these backdrop people or NPC people. If you have had a history, perhaps, of interacting with one kind of person or group of people, and you change vibration relatively quickly, and usually humans don't do anything quickly, so usually it's very slow change. Humans are very slow changers. So if you've changed your vibration suddenly over a short period of time, there's a chance that the people that you've normally been interacting with and you continue to interact with, that they haven't changed their vibration. So it will very much be that on this timeline that you're on, the people that you've been interacting with, if they don't feel like they're completely there, it's because you've changed timelines and they have not. Well, if you're dealing with a certain group of people and you change timelines and you change and you change and you change and you completely change the vibration that you've been on for, let's say, an extensive period of time. Okay, for an extensive period of time, you've been kind of going along day by day, being the same kind of person, the same vibration, and nothing a whole lot has changed for you. And you've surrounded yourself with family and friends and work and all of that. And it has been consistent. Now, everything changes all the time, nothing stays still. But there will be a consistent change, right? Okay? And let's say that you start changing rapidly. Whether you're changing up or down, it doesn't matter. Now, probably if you're listening to me, you've changed up, but it can happen either way. Either way. But suddenly you start making changes. Now, everyone around you has the option at any given time to have a version of themselves on whatever timeline they wish to be anything that they wish, because there's infinite timelines. For all practical purposes, as far as you're concerned, there are infinite timelines. Now, on a bigger scale, if you look at it from a much bigger scale, which you will eventually, you will see that there are, like somebody like me, I have far less timelines on this planet than, say, G-Man, who's a long-term human. He has many more than I do. But the numbers are so astronomically huge that from a human perspective, all you need to look at is that there are infinite timelines. In other words, there are infinite parallel Earths. That's another way that you could say that. I know people have talked about parallel universes. They have no idea. It's way more than just a parallel universe or a few. There are infinite parallel universes as you know them in any given time and space. But back to the point at hand. You have moved all of a sudden. Let's say that you've moved and you've been the same kind of person for like decades. And all of a sudden you change and you start raising your vibration very rapidly. For whatever reason, you've started to change rapidly. Now, the people that have been around you may or may not have versions of themselves that match those changes, those different vibrations that you are on. And very likely, they are not on every version of you that you decide to go to. And frequently what will happen is you will go to a series of timelines or versions of parallel Earths where the people around you don't want to play that particular game, don't want to be in that particular parallel universe. At which point it will feel to you like these are almost empty bodies. You are not going crazy. You are not losing your mind. That is the truth. There is far less energy from that conscious being playing the role of the person that you see right in front of you than perhaps a month ago or a year ago, only because they have agreed to have a person play the role of the person that has been in your life all this time, but they just aren't interested in this particular vibration. Okay? Now, on the planet for a very long time, human beings have been, whether conscious or not, most of the time it's unconscious or subconscious. They have been attempting to lower their vibrations to get to a denser version, a more fractaled version. That has been the game. That is the reason for the game, was to get to what humans call third dimension. Third dimension was obtained. And now the planet Earth, which has been agreed upon that she would come and she would be the planet that human beings would be on, that consciousnesses could come and get in human form and get on this planet and in amnesia and attempt to go to the third dimension, that low, slow density, that, I shouldn't say density because they use that for something else, that really slow moving, intense, dense dimension of the third dimension, what people call the third dimension. And that is fractaled. It is broken down into taking the all that is and a little tiny part of it, of the all that is, and breaking it apart to look at the tiniest little details of it, and taking tiny little details of it in amnesia, in human physical form, and seeing how you could take the vibrations that you call feelings and use them in a lifetime to have experiences that are very, very different than when you're on the other side, remembering that you are a god with all of the powers and abilities that you think of whenever you think of a god. Okay, that's what everybody on this planet has been doing life after life for millions and millions and millions upon millions of lifetimes. Entities have come to be in these human forms in order to slow down, fractal down, to have these very, very unique experiences. Now, planet Earth, who also is here for unique experiences, is raising up out of the third dimension, leaving. Now, she could leave another way, just like you could leave another way. You could drop dead, just like G-Man almost did. You could be in a car accident and die, and you could leave the game, go to the other side. Certainly, Earth could be hit by an asteroid and be broken into a billion pieces, and it would be over, and she could leave the game. She could do that. She has opted to raise her vibrations and go up, back up from the way she came. Okay, she came down through all of these, what you would call dimensions, down, 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 through all of them, down to the fifth, where she's going down, fifth, fourth, third. Okay, because she agreed to do this for a certain amount of illusionary time and space, because there's no real thing as time and space, but through the illusion of time and space, she agreed to do the illusion of time and space for X amount of this time and space. But when she got here and the third dimension was obtained, the beings that had kind of come and taken control of things, which is mostly, if you ask them, the geckos are the ones that are in charge here, and a lot of it they are. A lot of it they are. The pigeons would absolutely tell you that they're the ones that are in charge here. They think that they rule the spiritual aspects of the humans here, and the geckos believe that they kind of run and are in charge of the physicality of humans. Now, that statement isn't that far off. Okay. But anyway, basically, they asked for some more time. And Gaia basically said, well, okay, but you're only going to get this amount of illusionary time. So that illusionary time, she gave them. Now, when I talk about the illusionary time, I'm talking about much longer than what you that are we're not talking about human lifetime illusionary time. We're talking about millions and millions of years. But still, she is coming back up out and she said, okay, time's up, I'm leaving. I've been here long enough and I'm leaving. Now, anyone who wants to play the 3D game and beyond, if you want to go deeper into the densities, there are now planets, once this was obtained, after at least, as I've said before, 6 or 7 attempts to get to the third dimension. It was finally done, and the key on how you take, or one of the ways that you take a god to the place where they can be in physical form and have that experience of not being a god in physical form and have experiences from that perspective, that has been figured out. Now, of course, it won't stop. Now, well, how else can we get it done? And if you use this way of getting it done, can we go lower in from what your perspective is second dimension, first dimension, I don't know, zero dimension, then negative dimension? All of these are questions that are in the process of being done, because that's what we do as creator gods. We just keep creating. Okay, so there are already lots and lots of planets out there that are set up to go to the third dimension, and many of them are at the third dimension. There is some of them that are in what you would call the second dimension. They aren't at all like what people say the second dimension is, or what they call the second dimension, because the second dimension had not been done yet until this third dimension was done. Anyway, from my perspective and how I'm identifying the third dimension, it had not been done yet. It was not done here on the planet Earth. She stopped at third dimension. But on other planets, it has been done. Okay. And they're continuing to go deeper and deeper, and they'll continue to do the game that way. Okay. So, for any individual, any consciousness whose goal it was to go to third dimension and play the game in third dimension, that they aren't interested in going up to the fourth, as we are right now, we're in the fourth dimension, going up through the fourth and going back up to the fifth, that they just came down through all of that, that they already made that voyage through the fifth dimension, fourth dimension, and into the third dimension. Many of the human bodies who are older than 40, 45, many of the human bodies that are that age bracket were in the process of going to the third dimension to have the experience of the third dimension. As I said before, they are not interested in going right back where they came from. Now, the human bodies that are here are unaware of this, guys. You're not going to have a discussion with them and say, oh, well, did you come to be in the third dimension and you're going back out, or are you in the process of going down, or are you just popping in and out for a quick look around? I mean, what's your deal? They're not going to know this. That's a part of going down into the third dimension. It's a process of forgetting the God that you are. As you go back up, it's in the process of remembering the God that you are. So if you're dealing with people who came for the experience of the third dimension, and they're in the process after they leave here, whenever they die, they're going to incarnate. They're not going to reincarnate. Nobody that's going down in dimension will reincarnate on planet Earth. So all of you guys that are saying, oh, please don't, I don't want to reincarnate on this Earth. If you are reincarnating on this Earth, you will reincarnate in the fifth dimension. You won't reincarnate in a lower dimension. So if you do intentionally or unintentionally reincarnate, re means to do it again. So it's going to be incarnate, which is come into a human body or come into a body. That's what incarnate is, come into a human body. If you're reincarnating, that means you're doing it again. You're going to reincarnate. You're going to incarnate on that same planet again. So if you do reincarnate on planet Earth, you're going to reincarnate into the fifth dimension because that's where she will be. Okay? So, I mean, if you're going to screw up and incarnate back into this game, reincarnating back on planet Earth would be the thing to do because you're going to go into fifth dimension, which is a lot nicer place. A lot nicer place than here. Okay? If you incarnate, a lot of these beings that are here in the older age group, if they're in the process of lowering into the other dimensions so that they can have the experience of not being a god, of being in amnesia and not being a god, then they might be in the process of they're going to incarnate onto one of these other planets that are in the third dimension or second dimension. Okay? So they're going to incarnate still in this game, but they're going to incarnate on one of these other planets. Now, their energy is going into that. So if you're interacting with people of that age group, say 40 and above, 45 and above-ish, give or take, in that age bracket, there is a chance that a lot more of their energy is a lot less interested on the human body that is still playing on the timelines of this planet as it's gone back up into the fourth dimension. Does that make sense? So when 2012 hit, and the good majority, like I said, a lot of the, think of it like somebody, you walk through a door. When you walk through a door, your whole body, unless you stand on one side and jump, no, that still wouldn't work, unless you jump to the other side, as you walk through that door, first maybe you're swinging your arms, and first the tip of your fingers go through that doorway, right? Well, that won't work because they'll leave. Well, anyway, as you walk through that door, a part of you is going to go through that door before another part of you. And the last thing that leaves and gets to the other side of that door or through that doorway is going to be one of your feet. Okay? So think that Gaia has walked through that doorway, and the last bit of her is her foot. That's still in the fourth dimension. The rest of her is in the fifth dimension, except for her foot. And you're on the foot. Okay? Now, there's a lot of people that have already been to the fifth and the fourth dimension. They don't want to go back. So in 2012, when a good majority of her, like say half of her, walked through that door and are in fifth dimension, they all scooched back. They went, no, I don't want to go to fourth dimension. Well, they have to, but they, because they're on the planet and she's not all the way, they're still here because it went from third dimension to fourth dimension, and it will go to fifth dimension. You can go to fifth dimension anytime you like. But all of those have been represented in the space of one human lifetime. That's incredibly fast from a planetary standpoint of space-time, the illusion of space-time. That's very, very fast. So now these beings knew that this was going to happen when they incarnated or reincarnated on this planet. But because they don't want to go back up to fourth dimension, they're in the process of dropping, and they're going to incarnate on one of these other planets next time. They still have to live out this human lifetime that is now in the fourth dimension, and they're going to stay in the fourth dimension. They're not going to go to the fifth dimension. They have no intention of going to the fifth dimension. But they wanted to catch the third dimension on this planet before they went to another planet that was third dimension and lower. They wanted to do that first, and they knew that during this lifetime that she was going to go up to the fifth dimension, and a good majority of her was going to be in the fifth and the fourth dimension while they were alive. But they knew that, but they wanted to pick up that original third dimensional energy on a planet in humanoid form before they went on to their next lifetime. So all of them are trying to stay in the fourth dimension and not go to fifth. And what human bodies that they have, they're pulling quite a bit of energy away from those bodies because they've already been to fourth dimension. They're heading down, they're not heading up. So they're just kind of sitting here running their human bodies because they're here and they are playing the game, and they've agreed to be a part of the 7 billion people that are here during this transition phase, but they haven't put a lot of energy into those bodies, okay? And certainly on certain timelines with certain individuals, they certainly are not going to give much energy to that. They do not want to get in a position where they are in humanoid form having a intense spiritual conversation that would trigger their God self to remember who they are when they're trying really hard to forget who they are, the God that they are. That's the whole point of their game, is they're trying to forget. Okay, does that make sense? Now, those people, if you're around them, and there's a lot of them, there's a lot of people that are 40, 45 and older. Not all of them are doing this. Bunch of starseeds aren't, but there aren't that many starseeds really on that age bracket. Yeah, there's not, compared to the whole compared to every human on the planet that's age of 45 and older, the percentage of starseeds is really, really low. Okay? So there's a good chance that you're going to run into a lot of people that are in that position, that are playing a different kind of role, that are playing a different kind of game. And it will feel like there's not as much energy behind them. And these are the backdrop people, or the NPC people, as I call them. Okay? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. All right? Okay, if you have any questions about the backdrop people or the NPC people, then write in the comments below. Thank you so much for the topic to talk about, Mr. G-Man and Miss Kim. Much appreciated. I love you both. Bunches and bunches. Oodles and gobs. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching this video. Be sure and give me a good thumbs up. Appreciate it. If you've not subscribed, please do. And suggest this to your other friends, if nothing else. I'm aghast to watch. If you don't believe any of this stuff, it's pretty intense and wild. Lead to very interesting, what is it called? What's that new thing that they do? Or maybe it's not new, but the response videos. I'd be really fun to make fun of, I think. And that would lead to laughter, and I'm good with laughter always. Okay, thank you everybody who supports me with PayPal and Patreon. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for the Halloween. You guys know that I love Halloween. Love the dress up, any kind of time to dress up. And thank you for supporting me with the sessions that y'all line up. I'm looking forward to the 2 or 3 people that I've got to look forward to talking to here coming up. It's exciting to meet you all and interact with you, and hopefully spread some light on this situation and how this whole game works, and make you smile a little bit, make the fear about death go away a whole bunch. Yeah, that's how I look at it. Okay, guys, that's it from me. I love you so much. Huge hugs, and I'll see you later. Bye now.